being in a coma,
Yeah.
I started in real estate, and that was door knocking pre-foreclosure doors. Because you have kids, you understand this.
Yeah.
When you're younger, time is compressed.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we have Nick Prefontaine. I really want you to hear the story from Nick today because he survived a life-threatening snowboard accident at age 14, and his parents were being told that he might never walk, talk, or even eat independently again. But despite that, Nick defied all odds. And today he inspires audiences with his story of resilience and the step system that he developed to help anyone overcome adversity. So whether you're dealing with a traumatic situation in your life, if you're dealing with a business challenge, this is a system that Nick has developed that can help you work through this. And as a best-selling author and nationally recognized motivational speaker, Nick has shared his message with thousands across the country. He's the founder of Common Goal, a movement dedicated to helping people take the next step towards their full potential. Don't miss this. Nick, welcome to the show.
Super happy to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had to reschedule because we had some life issues pop up last week. So I appreciate you being flexible. And I had to have you on the show, Nick, because your dad was on the show. Great episode. We're gonna have him back on. It was that's not something we do that often, but with our favorite guests, we do that. And your story came up in the midst of that episode. And I asked your dad, I said, can we get Nick, can you give me Nick's info? We'd love to have him on the show. Because I think, the big thing in life is that, I had this issue with my son last week, Nick, and he said, Dad, I failed. And I pulled him aside. I said, Ethan, I'm sorry, Nick. He said, I'm a failure. And I said, no, Ethan. I said, you had a failure. You failed. That doesn't make you a failure. How you respond to this will determine whether that is or not. And, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background, Nick, and we're definitely going to get into the business that you and your family have built. But I just really want to dive into your personal story today.
Yeah, actually, it resonated with me when we spoke before, and I asked how
Yeah.
old your kids were because that's how
Yeah.
old I was, 14, when I got an accident. So that
Yeah.
resonated with me. So
Yeah.
again, yeah, I'll take you back there to that day when I was only 14 years old. I was in eighth grade at
Yeah.
ski club with my friends, and
Yeah.
my buddies and I had all brought our snowboard gear onto the bus to get ready so as not to miss a precious moment once we got to the mountain.
Yeah.
So we got to the mountain and headed right for the chairlift. And we noticed, Chris, that on the way up, it was very icy
Yeah.
because it had been raining earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Northeast, right?
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
It was in
I gotta love
Massachusetts.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't slowing us down because we were pretty experienced
Yeah.
snowboarders and skiers. So we were excited, and the chairlift actually went right over the terrain park where all of the jumps were. And I knew as soon as I saw it that I had to go off the biggest jump in the terrain park. So I mean, I wasn't even thinking about anything else. That's
Yeah.
definitely a jump that I was hitting. So got to the top, buckled into my snowboard, took a breath of that crisp winter air, and confidently charged towards that jump with all my speed. And going into the jump, I caught the edge of my snowboard, and that's the last thing that I remember.
Mm.
So they had to actually wanted to bring a helicopter to the mountain,
Yeah.
Crystal, to rush me to the hospital, but they couldn't because it was too windy. So they had to send in an ambulance. And out of all the paramedics, there was only one who could intubate right on the spot. And I needed that to be able to breathe. And it's just amazing to me. There are three things that I credit for being able to be here today with you and tell this story. So that the right paramedic, not even related, was in the parking lot that
Wow.
day when my accident happened. So everything had to break exactly the way.
Yeah.
Uh, Second thing I learned is that not only did I didn't have a helmet on, however,
Mm.
I had a pair of goggles that were very thick with a lot of padding. So I learned that not only did they brace my fall initially,
Hmm.
as I continued to roll down the mountain and continued my head, my goggles moved to cushion my head between each blow, between my
Wow.
head and the ice.
Wow.
And I want to say this is probably the most important thing. After I got to the hospital, I mean, I was out. I was in a partially induced coma in the intensive care unit, unable to communicate with anyone. And each time, no fault of their own, the doctors, they were just doing their job. But each time they came into my room to share progress updates with my parents and share the not so good news, not so good news, not so good news. Because when you've had an accident or acute injury or situation like that,
Yeah.
the doctors can't paint a rosy picture. So
Yeah.
they have to give you liability reasons. They have to give you the worst case scenario. So
Yeah.
they started to share it right in front of my parents. And I mean, right in front of me in my room with my parents. And my mom stopped them and she said, no, no, not in front of him, because she understood that even though I was in a coma, I was still taking in information.
Yeah.
So she had the doctors step outside the room. And then once they were there, that's when they said that I probably wouldn't be able to walk, talk, or eat on my own ever again.
Wow. I can't
And
imagine as a parent to hear that. I mean, I just can't imagine.
they they said even if I was able to come out of the coma, there was a because they weren't sure how long I was going to be out. They said there was a good chance that I would need 24-hour care for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So my parents didn't accept this like so many patients do as a death sentence. So just they took the information, thanked the doctors, and allowed me to treat it like any other situation. So
Yeah.
this was no different than any other challenge that I had faced up to this point in my life. And really, I didn't see the difference. So I was in the coma for 3 weeks. As I shared earlier, a partially induced coma.
Yeah.
So they had to wait for the swelling to come down in my brain.
Yep.
So I really don't remember a month. And it
Yeah.
was at that point that I was transported to a rehab hospital in Boston. And that's where I really started and began in my mind, my long journey. So,
Yeah.
um, I, I mean, I would like a typical day was I would get up, I need help from an occupational therapist to teach me how to shower again.
Yeah.
Then I would have breakfast, and then I would have double sessions of physical, occupational, and speech therapy. So it was right around this time rather, that I started to unknowingly use a system to
Hmm.
not only make a full recovery but run out of the hospital, and that's what I teach to this day. In my one-on-one work with clients, in the
Yeah.
step video series, and keynotes that I do for brain injury associations and like other organizations that support individuals that are going through trauma.
Yeah.
So what I
And
can
that's
do
your
is,
steps. That's your step system, right?
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. No,
It's,
and this is,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say it's
Yeah.
step, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
And I'll give like a 10,000 foot view
Yeah.
of the step system. And then at the end, I'll let them know so we can get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
I'll,
well, but
go
Nick,
ahead.
this is the good stuff. And again, I think, we get in the weeds on, investments and business matters and different things on this show. But I think one thing, that we all have in common is we face challenges in life. And God forbid anyone has to go through as big of a challenge you had to go through. But what I love is that, you have developed a framework around this. And facing some different things over the past few years. I lost a friend and business partner in early 23. I actually lost my sister in August of 24. And I have a friend, and we were just emailing back and forth here this week. She just lost her father and is going through the trauma, but also taking over her father's business in another country and helping get it on track. And, one of the things that we shared, because we're in very different time zones, I shared with her, I said, grieving is one thing, but, action and having the ability to work through it is what I found to be able to, get through those moments, whether it's a personal trauma or business trauma, a family trauma, and those things. So I just want the audience to know that your framework is so valuable because it can be applied to, even things that might not seem like such a big issue in life. So let's dive in.
Yeah, and the more and more I share my story and my
Yeah.
message step system, I'm seeing so
Yeah.
many more applications of it other
Yeah.
than trauma or life challenge or crisis.
Yeah.
And what I'm really growing into right now. But just to keep it simple,
Yeah.
STEP is support. It's an acronym. It stands for support. So make sure that you have the support of your family and friends right from the beginning. This is going to have you falling back on relationships that you built prior to your setback. T is trust. Trust that once you take your first step, your next step's always going to be available to you. And this also starts with trusting that voice that you have inside of yourselves, that we all have inside of ourselves,
Yeah.
not pushing it away. So the way I can illustrate this is after I was transported to the rehab hospital, I overheard my parents talking with my team of doctors and therapists. And they were, okay, what do we need to do to make sure Nick makes a full recovery? I heard in the back of my head, you're going to run out of the hospital. So then I was able to communicate that, and then running out of the hospital became our common goal. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
Energy is something that continues to evolve throughout my life, and we can get into that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
energy, at least initially, is maintaining your energy allows your body's natural ability to be able to heal itself.
Yes.
Medication has the potential to get in the way of that.
Hmm.
So obviously, within reason here, Chris, that
Yeah.
first night in the hospital cost $250,000. So
Wow.
if it wasn't for modern medicine, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
However, there's a use time and place for everything. And a month
Yeah.
after my accident, we needed to get my body off of the medication. And finally, P is persistence. So once you've taken your first step, keep getting up every day and taking your next step, no matter how small.
Yeah.
And by continuing to move forward every day, you are building an unstoppable momentum.
Yeah.
So if you
I love
fast
that.
forward less than, thank you. If you
Yeah.
fast forward less than 60 days later, I realized my goal of running out of the hospital. Uh,
Wow. Like Rocky says, I love one of my favorite. I have all these little video montages that I put together for my boys for inspiration and my own personal inspiration. And I love Rocky. I think it was Rocky. I forget which, not the first one, but his, when he had his son in it. And he's in the alley with his son and he says, it's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you get hit and keep getting back up.
Get back up. Yep.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't like that was the end though. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the beginning, if anything. I had to continue to go to outpatient therapy for another 6 months,
Yeah.
along with being tutored all summer long, 5 days a week, in order to continue on to high school with the rest of my classmates. And this is kind of where real estate fits into it. It took a mentor pointing it out to me about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, saying to me, because I told her I was door knocking when I was in high school. So only 18 months later, after recovering from my snowboarding accident and being in a coma,
Yeah.
I started in real estate, and that was door knocking pre-foreclosure doors. Because you have kids, you understand this.
Yeah.
When you're younger, time is compressed. So if you look like
Yeah.
6 months out, 12 months out, 18 months out, it seems like a lifetime.
Yeah. Because
Um,
it's a much larger percentage of your life. Yeah, when I was young, I'd call it Chris's theory of relativity, but now it's like widely. It seems like it's widely known. But yeah, I
it,
was like, why does time seem to go by faster as you get older? Because we have accumulated knowledge and our brain processes new experiences. So yeah, I
yeah,
look at that with. I was talking to my younger son on the way home this morning, and I was like, yeah, we were talking about how long man's been around, and I said, oh, there was this big Earth volcanic eruption 74,000 years ago. He's like, that's a long time. I go, yeah, but in your life, I said it'd be like 3 years if you look at it. He's like, That's a long time, but not that long. So yeah, it's all relative to how much time we have on Earth, right?
Yeah. So I would, after only 18 months after finishing my rehab, I received a notice of default letter from the bank, meaning that they had missed several payments on their home. And the bank hadn't foreclosed yet. So I would get a list of these, go to these areas where I could hit the most amount of doors in a day, and I would do because I had to go to school during the week, unfortunately.
And
But
you
I
were
would usually do them on
16?
like, yeah, it was amazing, Chris. I actually I wasn't able to legally drive with people in my car, but that didn't stop me. She
Wow.
said, "Wait a minute. So you were really going door? This was so soon after your accident that you
Yeah.
were basically going door to door." Helping these people out of their unfortunate situation, and it was a part of your recovery. So I never
Yeah.
looked at it that way, but
Wow.
so that really resonated with me when she said that. And then I got my real estate license, started helping buyers and sellers as a realtor. And then in 2014, my dad came to me and he said he needed help with selling the properties that he was accumulating,
Yeah.
selling them on the rental market. So not conventionally listing them as a realtor, but
Yeah.
put them on the rental market for people
Yeah.
that wouldn't be able to pay cash or get a loan. So I started helping him in 2014. Over the course of the next 13 or 14 months, my income shifted where I was making the majority of my money with him as an investor. So January 2016, I let my real estate license go and joined him full time as an investor.
Wow.
And since 2016, we have been holding events where I've always had the opportunity to tell my story, much like I'm doing today with you
Yeah.
and your listeners. And this has meant the world to me because ever since I've graduated high school, no matter what I'm doing, there's always this voice in the back of my head. Yeah, great, Nick. But what you really need to be doing is telling your story from stage and helping trauma survivors thrive with the
Mm.
rest of their lives.
Mm.
So I always thought by sharing my story for 10 or 15 minutes once in a while was doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of, but not really. So
Yeah.
it took until 2019. I had a woman approach me after, and she complimented me on my story and said, if I was ever looking, Chris, to fine tune this message and bring it to another level so I could help the most amount of people and have maximum impact
Yeah.
in this world, she could. I said, okay, I'm ready. What should I do? Who should I talk to? She introduced me to her mentor, Trisha Brook. And ever since that first call, there's been no voice in the back of my head. So
How about that?
what that's evidence to me of is that I'm doing exactly what I was put on this earth
Yeah.
to do.
I love that.
So she recommended that I do the speaker salon. That and that was 25,000. And you commute to New York City for 6 weeks in a row and get to. So I said yes, 100%. That was 25,000. Then during the speaker salon, Trisha pitched the idea of what it would look like to me, what it would look like to me to work one on one with her, and she told me that she helps speakers build out their speaker platform. I didn't even know what that was. That was 75,000. Part in my soul that I had to follow this. I wasn't going to live the rest of my life with having this story inside of me. So I said yes. I applied for financing, got approved, and sent her the money. Now, Trisha, so I worked with her one on one, and she's become a friend. Really, I still
Yeah.
we talk once in a while, probably maybe even once or twice a month. And she was the one that actually pulled the step system out of me. So I think it was our first call.
Yeah.
She said, all right, you have this amazing story. You were in this snowboarding accident in a coma and then you ran out of the hospital. How'd you do early? And it's amazing to me because what came out of that is the step system.
How about
That
that?
that's what the
Yeah.
step system is.
Yeah.
It's how I've handled any adversity and how I was raised.
I love
Um,
that.
So that's what it is. Support, trust, energy, and persistence.
I
So I
love
figure
that.
if you have any questions, this is a great time to dive into it.
Yeah. So Nick, first off, again, amazing story. I know we're a little compressed on time here today. I would love for you to share with the audience how they can learn more about your story, and also just summarize what you do. With your dad. Chris, we had him on the podcast as well, and would love for you to share a little bit about that as well to wrap up.
Sure, yeah. The how they find out more. So it's only like 10,000 foot view of the step system, what we went over, believe it or
Yeah.
not. But if they go to my website, nickprefontaine.com/step, they're able to download the whole step system for free today. And for someone out
Amazing.
there that's stuck, or in crisis or challenge, they don't know where to turn, great first step. And then as far as what I'm doing, like I'm still very much involved in working with my dad in the family business, family real estate business. So now we transitioned over to we still do like we have a few deals here and there in our personal portfolio. However, we transitioned over into helping and assisting and really, in essence, locking arms with our associates that are all over the country to kind of instill in them the same systems, tools, and processes that have been able to help us and make us successful. So we try to give that same systems, tools, processes to them in their business. So once they get properties under contract, that's where kind of I come in. So we buy just to keep it again real simple, like
Yeah.
10,000 foot view. We'll buy a few different ways on a list, or rent to own is another way you say that. Um, Take over all responsibility for maintenance, repair, and upkeep, and at the end, we'll financing in place. We'll actually close on it, subject to their existing loan. And then the third way is owner financing. If they
Yeah.
don't have any debt on the property, we can structure one of the ways is we can structure principal only payments back to them, and in most cases, give them a little bit of a premium. Now, however, we're buying them,
Yeah.
we're always selling them on a rent to own, and that's where I come in.
Yeah.
And there's only roughly 18% of the market who can get a loan today. So we go out to the other bigger pool of buyers. Not all good, as I'm sure you and your listeners know. However,
Yeah.
in there, there's a large swath of them that they make great incomes.
Hmm.
They have money saved for the down payment. They just, for whatever reason, moving to a new country, self-employed. They're just not able to walk into a bank and get a loan.
Yeah.
We're getting them into the home, getting them fixed up with credit enhancement, credit repair, and then getting them on the path to home ownership.
I love that. I love that.
So that
And
that
yeah, and it's such a crisis today in terms of home ownership and affordability. And that was the big thing we talked about with your dad was, how you all use creative financing, these methods to help individuals do that. And it's a real win-win for those individuals. So if you're listening today, be sure to check out nickprefontaine.com. You're able to look at all the stuff that you do there. And Nick, what's your business website as well? We'll be sure to add that to the show notes too.
Sure. I was just going to share because I was thinking when I was saying that interest and you want to learn more, you can go to smartrealestatecoach.com/master's class. There you can get registered for a free master's class that's going to teach you all about how we buy and sell creatively on terms is what we like to call them.
Yeah.
And if they're always changing the marketing team's always changing the length on that. So just in closing, I can say, like I was saying before, anyone that's out there, you just suffered a trauma, a challenge, something you're going through, and you don't know what to do, go to nickprefontaine.com/step, get signed up for the step system for free. And that's a great first step. And once you take your first step, your next step's always going to be available to you.
Love that. I love that, Nick. And I've downloaded it. I appreciate you sharing your story today. So grateful for you to share that with the audience. And if you're listening today and you need some help getting through something, check out Nick's step system. Nick, so great to see you. So great to talk to you here today and have your story shared with our audience.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.